Welcome back to the KB Money Show. It is officially the new year 2025. Welcome to season two, episode one. I got my amazing co-host, the Ivy League scholar. Um, what's going on, bro? What's good with you, man? How you feeling, man?
Man, I'm just feeling great, feeling blessed to make it to a new year. 2025, it snuck up on us. It came quick, but man, I'm just, reflecting on a great 2024 and just excited to see what 2025 brings us. And just want to be present in this moment, though. I'm happy to be here, happy to be recording, and looking forward to this show.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we got to talk about the New Year's resolutions and all that good stuff. But before we get there, how did you bring in the new year?
Man, this was it's gonna sound funny. This is actually the first New Year's that I came into the New Year knocked out. I was asleep.
Mm,
Like because me, my wife, and her brother, we ended up going to we're in Boston. This is our first year celebrating the holidays in Boston. And so we went to an ice skating show. They had an outdoor ice skating show. That was pretty cool. Everybody was doing the spins and it was just cool. It made me want to try ice skating. So I'm like, if they can do all these spinning, I can at least go in a straight line. You know what I mean? But we did that, and then right after they had the ice skating, they had this big fireworks show. And so, I mean, it's just cool because where they come from, they do fireworks. Where we come from, they do fireworks. So we all had a common love of fireworks. So, and
yeah,
it was surprising to me. They told me afterwards it wasn't the city of Boston that had that fireworks show. It was like this one wealthy family that purchased a bunch of fireworks and just let them off. And they had a
mm,
bunch of different types. And it was great. It wasn't just like your run of the mill regular backyard fireworks. It was really a show. So
yeah,
after we did that, that was about 2, 3, 4 hours worth of entertainment right there. So we ended up going home, and I believe we cooked some steaks. We cooked something. We made some steaks, I believe, and we just after that we planned to maybe go back out for the new year because there was like a
yeah,
countdown happening pretty close to where we lived. But by the time 10:30, 11 o'clock rolled around, everybody we messed up and all got into bed, and I guess we all got too comfy. And
yeah,
next thing you know, it was 12 o'clock. We was getting calls like, where y'all at? What y'all doing? Happy New Year's.
yeah,
And I was like, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. I was knocked out, but I
yeah.
had just really enjoyed the day. And I got on the phone with several relatives, wished them Happy New Year. But I just was happy that I got to spend my New Year's with family.
Yeah, no, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. Yeah, on my side, we did our usual. We went and had dinner. We dressed up. We always dress up and go had a good, really great dinner. We talked about uh, what went well for the year, things that we are most proud of for the year, and then we also reflect and talk about what didn't go well or things that we wish would have went different. But obviously, it's learning opportunities, and so we think about that as well, and then we talk about what do we want to do for 2025. Obviously, we're having that meeting, but a lot of times it's like all of December is a planning month for me. But so that's how we typically spend it. And then we always rent. We always get a nice hotel after that, and then we usually bring the new year in the hotel room out the way, just kind of low key. That's been our thing that we've done since what we're going on. Oh man, it'll be coming up 5 years. Hold on, let me 29, 6 years. Am I saying that right? Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I think it'd be 6 years coming up. I'm losing track of time. Because 2019, 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 20. Hey, that's how getting old, gray hairs. Hey man, time flies, man. And so
yeah. Yep.
but that's how we bring it in every year. We enjoy that. Um,
Do y'all
I
switch
re
up the hotels, keep it the same? Do y'all have like a favorite one?
well, I like the JW downtown. I'm in Houston, so I like the JW downtown. But we stayed at another spot. It was pretty cool. My wife, she likes this other spot, but they all really nice. So you can't really go wrong. So it ain't nothing like just laying in a comfortable bed, just relaxing, chilling out the way, and we just enjoying each other's company. So that's how we typically do it, man.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. All right, so we got to get into some growth, some getting better conversation. So for you, I'll start it off. What's one thing that you want to let me reverse. What's one thing that you're going to stop doing in 2025 that might be preventing you from getting to your goal? Because a lot of times when we think about New Year's resolutions, when we think about, oh, I want to start this new thing, but there's some old things that we're doing that's not serving us. And so before you can add the new thing, sometimes you got to stop the old thing. Otherwise, you're just adding new things on top of bad habits.
For
So what's
sure.
that one thing for you? And a lot of times you're trying to change a whole bunch of stuff at one time, and it's like, what's one thing? Like just what's one thing that you can do in 90 days? What's one thing that you could take away in 90 days that'll move the needle for you in the right direction?
One thing I can do ASAP, and it's funny you asked me this. I was thinking about this last night. I was just thinking that for me, I mean, 2024 and all 2023, all the years before that, I've I've have a tendency to where I think a lot, and so which is cool. You know, it depends on what you're thinking about. The good things, bad things, but I tend to obsess a lot over my goals and really just strategize over the how. And so one of the books that you recommended to me last year in 2024 was Who, Not How. And so in
Mm,
2025, I was thinking about this last night. Like, man, I'm really looking forward to quitting my days as a one man band, trying to figure out how to do every single last thing. You know what I mean? And so,
yeah.
and to me, I was thinking like, man, life is about relationships, and that means how can you benefit others, and how can others benefit you? And I think maybe a couple shows ago we were talking about money, and now I was talking about being obsessed with chasing money. But something that I've been thinking about lately is that instead, I should be more obsessed with how can I bring value to others? Because then the money's going to have to follow you. They're going to have to follow. It's going to have to be a value exchange. I have to bring something to the table first. So, I mean, on that same line of thinking, I just challenge myself to look at all my major goals. And okay, I first have to figure out the what. What is the goal for? I have to figure that out first. But once I got the destination painted, I need to go find who's on every single last one and stop
Mm.
and don't just rest on because for me, like I said, I default to just thinking. If I'll think about something all day, but that might be okay, that might be cool in the beginning, but eventually to get progress, I need who's, I need a coach, I need a mentor, I might need a friend. I mean, I need somebody to say, hey Kian, you're not thinking about it this way. And so that's my thing for 2025.
So your one thing that you're gonna stop is being a lone ranger. Is that okay?
Yes.
And lean into community for the goals that you have set up in community, meaning mentor, coach, folks that are on that path and that journey, similar to you and whatever it is for them, but like it creates that energy, that inspiration, and you being that for others, but they being that for you. And so there's a lot there versus you being a lone ranger and just saying, hey, I'm going to do this thing in my own strength by myself. And but what happens is when you put yourself in isolation, you think that especially when it come to challenges, you'll you'll be in your head and you'll be thinking, man, this is rough, this is hard, and then you stop. But if you were in community, let's just let's say you in year one of your journey of whatever that thing is, but someone else, maybe they're in year two or three or four, whatever. And so but because you're in community and you're talking about it, they're like, "Oh yeah, man, I remember, man, I was exactly where you were. I know the exact feeling. Hey man, all you got to do is just keep moving and you're gonna get past that point. You're in that liftoff phase where like thinking about an airplane where you're in that liftoff phase, but eventually if you keep moving and you keep going, you'll get better, you'll continue to learn, you will improve, and you'll get encouraged, you'll get inspired, you'll start to get more and more lift and you'll start to build your confidence. But when you're not in community, you don't hear those things, and so you end up quitting. Or you be just in your head, you like, I don't think this is working, and then you just stop and you lose the momentum that you had going. But here's the other part. we're that for other people too. And when you're
Mm,
not in community, you're robbing them of the opportunity of getting that encouraging word on the other end.
right.
Yeah.
It reminds me of and a phrase that I was thinking about was, we always say it takes a village to raise a child. But what about when he's grown? Where'd the village go? Where's
Yeah.
my village at? Like, do I need to go find another village? And so it made me think, who's my village? Do I even have a village? It's
Mm,
in this virtual world, your village doesn't have to be limited to geography, but it just made me think, like, why am I trying to fly this plane alone?
mm. Yeah, yeah. So for me, I'll switch it over to for me, I'm gonna say it out loud. I'm gonna say it out loud. It's not. It hadn't been hard for you, because you never picked up this habit, which is a good thing. But for me, on the health tip, I need to get my weight up. Well, I need to get my weight down. Uh, but more importantly, just be more healthy overall. Had some back challenges and all those things, but back feeling better. It has its moments, but I just listen to my body. But one of the things that I'm going to stop, I'm saying it here, is alcohol. Right now, is it a forever thing? I don't know. But it feels right to stop it now. And to be honest, I hadn't had a drink since uh Thanksgiving. So going strong there. And I think that a lot before we start adding and doing all the things, sometimes you gotta self-assess and like, what's one thing I can stop? Well, I said one thing, alcohol, but another thing is sugars. I love sweets, bro. Like,
Yeah.
so dialing that back as well, being more intentional on that before just adding a whole bunch of working out 7 days a week, do
Yeah.
this and that. And it's like sometimes you can get progress by stopping certain things. Sure, you need to add things too, but it's even things like that where it's like, so those are the two things. One, I'm cutting out completely. For how long, I don't know, but we'll see. So I'll keep you posted there. But the two is really reducing that sugar intake. Because you'd be surprised a lot of things that you eat, man, it got a lot of sugar in it, man. Even when you think you like, oh, I'm trying to be cleaner, whatever, but that's sugar, man. Like if you get to looking in the back, you're like, dang, that got sugar in it. And so you
Yeah.
just got to be mindful. Like, so I'm gonna continue to be mindful. I've been on the journey before, but just one day at a time, not doing all the things. But so those are the two things for me. So ask me about it, hold me accountable. So that's what I'm committing to right now. Those two things on the health tip, right? Obviously we can get into the finance stuff, but health is wealth, right? And so
For sure.
as you're getting older, you start to realize, like, man, it's like this compounding effect. It's like you
Mhm.
start feeling little aches that you ain't ever felt before. It's like you get up wrong. You like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's wild, like, but anybody out there that's watching, and I'm 39, so like if you 39 and above, or you approaching 39, or hey, you in your 40s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like before, you would have had to do some strenuous exercise or workout and tweak some, but now, man, you could tweak some getting up and it'll put you out for a couple of days. But nah, man, I'm loving it though, man. Life is good, man. Life is good though, man. Life is good. All right, so I think that's a good segue. Let's transition into the new year, man. Some unfortunate news came up in the new year. Um, it's interesting. So I'm gonna do a quick screen share here.
Right.
I'm gonna do a quick screen share here. All right, so I'm sharing my screen. Let me know when you got it. Can you see it?
It's I can see it now.
All right. So I'm gonna hit play. So had somebody that was living here in Houston. They went down to New Orleans and they decided to do some interesting New Year's Eve going into the new year. And it impacted some families, man. It impacted some families. Let's hit play and then we'll take it from here.
Sudden terror on Bourbon Street.
There were just bodies and the screams. You cannot think about. unhear that. Um, it was chaos and very, very scary.
Everything in the car is hitting, it's getting thrown.
The vehicle ran through a crowd of people. There's multiple injuries, multiple casualties. They need to canal in Bourbon.
Just hours after the clock struck midnight, the driver in a pickup truck went around barricades, according to police, killing those celebrating New Year's Eve along the iconic street. At least 15 people were killed, dozens others injured.
This is not just an act of terrorism. This is evil.
The suspect, identified as Shamsuddin Jabbar, a 42-year-old man from Texas.
So yeah, man. So this is the guy that he he rented a car from a truck from Turo. I don't know if you've ever heard of Turo, bro, but and then he drove down to New Orleans, man, and 42-year-old man, I guess, decided he was gonna take some folks out, and the authorities are trying to figure out, was this an isolated incident, or was this, terrorist attack, or was this coordinated with another event that happened in front of Trump Tower? But yeah, man, this is a lot going on here. And to be honest with you, this is one of the reasons why me and wifey typically do something low key and stay out of crowded areas. Um, but who would have known that? So you can't blame anybody for, like, wanting to celebrate the New Year's. But I'll be honest with you, this is one of the reasons that we stay out of the way. What you think?
Man, it just it, I think we definitely can get desensitized to stuff like this. Like,
Yeah.
because I heard the news and it was like, not like a I told you so moment, but even like my wife was telling me about the news and I was like, I see, because she's been wanting to go to New Orleans and I'm like, yeah, it sounds exciting, but it's kind of dangerous. I don't know if I want to go. So then you hear a headline like this and it's like, not that this is indicative of New Orleans, but man, it just seems like whenever you travel, it seems like, I mean, I can't speak to back in the day. I'm only 23, but even when I was younger, we didn't hear about stuff like this happening so often. I feel like, okay, there was 9/11, and then there was other attacks here and there, but it's just think violence has just been getting more and more frequent, and I find that we're just getting more and more desensitized to it. It just, I don't know, it's just senseless. I don't know what drives somebody to do something like this. I don't want to know, except for the purposes of preventing it further.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really sad. I'm pretty sure one of the victims was from our city, from our high school. It's just a sad it's just sad, man. Like that lady said, it's evil. I agree.
Yeah. I'm a forward it. I'm a fast forward it a
Are you
little.
looking for a new
Oh man, they trying to get us with
fence
this.
or gate for
Hey,
I'm,
never mind.
yeah, I'm gonna stop that. But yeah, no, we're not doing that. But as it's going through this, once it finished, I'll I'll bring it back for us to finish watching it. But yeah, man, I have one last part that I want to show, because when they show the headshot, they always have you looking rough. But
Right.
all right, so I'm showing it. I'm back showing it again. All right, so Pastor.
About the man who was driving this truck that was used as a deadly weapon last night.
Well, piecing together much more of a profile of Shamsuddin Jabbar, Wolf. And what we've been able to learn, we've culled from public records as well as videos and information he himself has put online. What you're looking at here is an image of him from a YouTube video posted in 2020. It has since been taken down. This video, he has titled it Personal Introduction. He says that he was born in Beaumont, Texas. He talks about his service as a member of the U.S. Army, so he's an Army veteran, and his work in information technology as well as working in real estate. He says in that video that serving in the military taught him, quote, the meaning of great service and what it means to be responsible.
Okay, so as you can see, this is the part that I wanted to show. And if you're like, okay, man, what does this have to do with the KB Money Show? It has a lot to do with it. This, as we get into the money, this is a part of life. This happens. And as you can see, he was a veteran. He was an army veteran. He was in real estate. I actually saw the video. It's been taken down, but I saw the video where he was marketing himself and he was in real estate. And according to the news, they were saying that he had financial troubles. So that's the part that I wanted to bring up here is, finances is real, man. And we have to make sure we're on top of our finances. We on top of our finances, and I'm gonna exit out of that. All right, but yeah, so making sure that we're on top of our finances. So like this stuff is serious, man. And if you end up in a desperate situation, I mean, to your point, who knows what the motive was? But they're mentioning him having financial issues, and so our biggest thing is like, I know you've decided to live a life of like no debt and building wealth that way, and of course investing and all the things. Not saying you have that has to be your journey, but we know like more debt you have, the more stress you have. Like I could tell you firsthand, when you have that stress, that knot you feel like in your stomach, you don't want to open up bills. It start impacting relationships, and you just start doing things that's just out of character, and maybe you normally wouldn't operate that way, and then you start doing, and if you get really desperate, you start doing things for money that you probably shouldn't be doing, or it just, and so the biggest thing there is, hey, we got to make sure we're being proactive with our finances, and if you need help, man, like ask for help, man. Like I think you talked about it earlier about being a lone ranger, man. Like, and if you're going through something, hey, we all go through challenges, and we all have struggle, but getting that help, whether it be maybe you need to talk to a therapist, or maybe you having some mental health issues. I know a lot of times us men sometimes like maybe we're a little bit more stubborn to it. But hey man, it's real, man. I'm not saying it was a mental health thing, but something has to be going on. Like I just don't know how you go and take some lives. Like you got that low, you had that low to where you want to take yourself out and people. Like that's just, it's not a good thing, man. It's not a good thing. Got anything you want to add as we close? The other thing too, before I pass it over to you, I was talking to a family member, and you're 100% right, because we're from Gulfport. Like I'm from Gulfport, Keon from Gulfport, Mississippi, and it was someone. I think the person was like 13, 14. I can't remember exactly how old they were, but it was confirmed that it was someone from Gulfport that was impacted and was one of those lives taken, which I was like, dang, man, that's my hometown, man. That's wild. But yeah, I'll kick it over to you and let you add your closing words on this unfortunate situation, even coming into the new year.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and like you said, it's really it's a very dramatic example, but it's still an example of like you said, what can happen when you just reach a financial rock bottom and you just get to the point where you think there's nothing you can do about it. So it's just, well, I'm sure 99% of the viewers or just humans won't get this drastic and do something like this. I'm sure that we've all hit our lows and maybe felt like, that we don't know what's next. We don't know what's going to save us or how we're going to save ourselves. So as Kenny said, just if you're ever feeling like that, because money is very emotional.
For sure.
I know we talk about strategy and the logic, but it's very emotional. Like your mind is very much tied to your wallet. Your heart is your emotions, and so don't, in times of dire financial stress, don't focus on just your decision making. Don't be a lone ranger. We're gonna tie it all together because you can't trust your own decisions right now. You don't know, and so just don't be in a decision where you're making decisions based off of emotions and emotions alone. Because I'm pretty sure that's what he was doing. I can't see the logic in what he just did.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna transition over to another segment I got queued up for us. Keeping it going. Hey man, we got to get our act together, man, when it comes to our finances, man. It's serious, man. And right now, All right, sharing now. I'm gonna play this clip, but credit cards is at a all-time high when it comes to credit card defaults in the first 9 months. And that just goes to show that there's a lot of people that were in credit card debt. But I'm gonna play this and let you hear it, and I'll comment on it, and we'll go back and forth on it.
Money Watch, alarming new numbers that show rising default rates on credit card loans, now at the highest level since just after the 2008 financial crisis. Card lenders wrote off a whopping $46 billion in debt in the first 9 months of the year. Our Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady is here. So, Kelly, first tell us, what does it mean when a credit card company writes off an amount like this? Because when I think of write-offs, I think of write-offs for your taxes.
Totally fair. So basically what this means is the credit card company is saying, we don't think that the borrower is going to be able to pay us back that debt. So we're just going to say that, that we're going to write that off. And what this tells us is the lower income consumer is really strapped and it's getting worse. And just for context, that write-off value, it's not the highest, only the highest that we've seen in 14 years. It's 50% more than last year.
50% more than last year? That's unbelievable.
So I'm gonna stop you right there. Essentially what's happening, man, is a lot of people are man, floating credit cards month to month, you making it stretch. So basically, I will bring myself to the front of the congregation. I've done that before in my younger days, where maybe I didn't make a lot of money, or I didn't make a lot of money, but honestly, it really was I was negligent with my finances. So what I would do was I would use a credit card to pay for something in hopes that, okay, I'll just wait, for the next check, I cover the next check. But what happens is it's like a game of musical chairs, and what happens is you keep floating it month to month. But what's happening is it keeps increasing, the balance keep increasing, and you keep paying the minimal or a little bit more than the minimal. And then what happens is if you lose that job or you get laid off, now you have this debt that you can't pay. And so then it spirals out of control. And especially if you already weren't good at your money management and being a good steward of your finances, it just gets out of control. And let me tell you something. I don't think anyone set out when a person is using a credit card. I would give most people the benefit of the doubt that they were saying to themselves, I'm gonna eventually pay this back. I'm gonna pay it back. I'm gonna pay it off month to month. I'm gonna pay it off. And then before you know it, you in deep, and then you blink, you in $50,000 in credit card debt or 20,000, and you're like, and you think about it like, what happened? Any insight on that?
I just, my mind just goes straight towards the company in terms of, I think that this news story is painting it. There's either two possibilities that can come out of this. Either these credit card companies are losing money and they need to figure out something quick, or these credit card companies are making money and the people that are getting the loans and paying them back on time or paying them back with interest, they're paying for those loans that just got written off. That's what I'm thinking about. It's either one of those two. And so I'm just wondering, why would they continue to make these loans? Because they said it's 50% more than last year. So this happened last year on a smaller scale. But I'm just curious on how, I just can't wrap my mind around a company saying, I mean, I can get it. They know they're not getting the money back, but I can't wrap my mind around them saying, okay, well, I don't hear anything about what they're going to do about it next year. What are they going to do to prevent the 50% increase next year?
Yeah, so I fast forwarded the screen here and I'll exit in a second. The other thing that I wanted to bring up here, so the rise in credit card delinquency. So years of rising prices, they blame it on prices rising. And then credit card interest rate, which is predatory, bro,
Yeah.
above 25%. And then they're also mentioning the depleting savings accounts rate. So let me
Yep.
stop sharing and it just be us having a back and forth. But man, the credit cards, man, that credit card, and you get lured in. Oh, it's the points and this and that. And like I've always said in previous videos, even myself, who pays off, who pays it off every year, I mean every year, every month, I know I spend more money because I use credit cards. It's convenient, but and so we have to be real with ourselves. Like we're spending more money, but imagine a person that doesn't make enough money to cover the excess. Like, and you need every single, and that don't get it twisted. I need every single dollar too. So like, don't get that. Like, let me not say, like
Right.
frame it in that way. But like, things are a little bit more tighter for you. And to your point, I think where you're probably going is they know that some people are gonna get caught up in credit card debt, right? Like they know that some people they're gonna pay it off month to month, no harm, no foul. They're not really gonna get much interest off that person, but they do know that they still are gonna spend a little bit more too.
Yeah.
But there's some people that are just gonna get swept up in the credit card debt. And so it's definitely playing with a double-edged sword, a sword for real. But you know, yeah, it's always interesting with the credit card conversation. You got Dave Ramsey, that says cut up your credit card, and he got the
Yeah.
scissors. I understand that part of it. Then you got the person on the other end, and like, I really need it for the points. I fall somewhere in the middle. My thing is if you know you're not good with your finances already, probably need to put that credit card up.
Yeah, I would agree. It adds too much margin for error, too much room for error. You start moving different when you have a credit card versus when you just got a debit or cash. Like you were saying that, it made me think about just last night or the day before. We were at a restaurant and pat my pocket. Okay, I got my wallet in my pocket. Okay, cool, we're good. It comes time to pay. Okay, let me, before the check comes, because I'm the type of person I want to I hate when there's confusion when the check comes, because we all knew the check was coming. Why is there confusion? So, okay, check's coming soon. Let me pull out my wallet. I don't see my Amex. I started panicking a little bit because I just knew I was going to throw it on the table and handle whatever was coming, but I couldn't find the Amex. So I had to go check my account real quick and let me make sure. But I had enough, but still, I had to. Some urgency came through when I couldn't find that Amex. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. But I fall more on the spectrum of, I get both sides of the arguments. No credit cards, or some people would just go the exact opposite. I finance everything, no matter what. But I find that for me, I just really like, and maybe I don't know, maybe this is just good marketing. Maybe this is big credit then got to me a little bit too. But I just feel more safe processing everything on a credit card and then going back through and paying it with debit. But I mean, I think to each his own. Everyone should run their system in a way that makes it best for you. That makes it most convenient and simple for you. That's the system that's most simple for me. And so, but like you said, with that system, even it allows even the most disciplined of players to cheat just a little bit. You know what I mean? And so you just have to buffer that in. The most disciplined players will buffer in a little bit more cheat room for that. Like, okay, maybe add an extra 20 or 30 or however many dollars to your fund budget, whatever you need to do to accommodate for that. But just know that credit card, like Kenny's not lying when he says you feel a little bit more power when you spend that, when you swiping credit versus debit.
Yeah, and understand you're not going to beat the credit card company. Like as long as you're clear on that, you're not going to beat the credit card company. You're thinking, "Oh, I'm getting over." Don't play yourself. Like they've done research on this. They understand human behavior, their emotions, how they operate. They've done the research on how you feel when you pay with cash versus card, and it is scientific. It is proven that you spend more money when you. I don't have my wallet. I don't have my. I think my wallet in my truck. Yeah, I
Yep.
don't have it. But anytime, like
Man.
kind of like what you said, anytime that you have a credit card and it's disassociated with like your money, like money. You're like, oh, just put it on the card. We'll get it later. How you want to pay? Oh, just put it on the credit card. Ah, just put it on the. But like, if you're taking the money, because dang, I wish I had my wallet up here. But if you take cash out of your wallet and you give it to someone, you're like, okay, do I really need this, or do I really
Yep.
like? It's making you take that extra second, and then especially when you start getting down to your last bit of cash, you like. Do I really need to do that? Or it just really make you have that extra layer of thought of like, mm. Actually, I'm gonna pass on that. Like, I'm good on that.
It's just something about that credit. And the funny thing is with that story, he ended up bringing the Apple Pay thing to the table. So I ended up using my credit card anyway. So I just, but still, if it was just funny, I was like that different. It felt different. I started counting. Okay, and the tip's gonna be this much, and this. I started calculating. Okay.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. And last thing here, and it's funny because I've been out before, and I happened to look over. A few months ago, and I looked over, and I saw somebody. They had a phone, and, I don't know how. I guess because I have my glass on, I can see it. And I was
Calculating.
like, baby boo. I call my wife baby boo. I said, baby boo, look. I said they just pulled up their bank account to double check their account before they made their payment. So like, hey, we think we all different, but you'd be surprised. We're more alike than different, man. When it comes to money, we all emotional. We all like do the same type of things in some type of way. Some are a little bit better with finances than others, but it's funny to see certain things or certain behaviors you've had in the past, and you see somebody doing it. You're like, dang, I remember I used to do that, or hey, maybe I still do that. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of funny. All right, so let's transition over to speaking about money because now we've talked about bringing in the new year. We've talked about, hey, if you need help, get some help. Don't be out here crashing out because you don't went broke. Now we're seeing what it looked like with the credit cards and keeping the train going, keeping the train going. The financial experts getting ready to share my screen.
Saying what they saying.
Man, financial experts say it's gonna be tough.
Well, I want
It's
to
gonna be
ask
tough
you
for the
about
housing
this
market.
because this is an economic story we're seeing playing out. One of the big stories to end 2024 has been the home buyer story. American homeowners are feeling the crunch of home insurance and property tax payments. That is really pushing up their monthly mortgages. The Wall Street Journal found that in September, 32% of the average single family monthly mortgage payment went to insurance and tax payments. That's the highest since 2014. Analysts say the climbing cost of property taxes and home insurance, it's not going to come down, putting further burden on homeowners, even if they've refinanced or even if they got a low rate on their mortgage. They got that 3.5% or 4%, for instance.
Wow, this is going to be really tough on the housing market. I'm going to tell you that right now, of late, the worst performing sector in the U.S. equity market has been housing-related shares. They're under a lot of pressure. They've been sinking by double-digit percentage for the current quarter to date since the election. It's really a mess. Let's face it. You go ahead.
So I don't think we need to we don't need to watch any more of this, but man, they say
Yeesh.
they say it's gonna get tougher, man. They say it's gonna get tougher in the housing market. It's gonna be really tough for the housing market. Hey, I'll be honest with you, man. Taxes is increasing. Even us, we have a pretty modest place. And you've been here. We have a pretty modest place, but so it wasn't that we couldn't afford more. We could have. We could have. And that's a trap. Like whenever you go in and you getting approved, they like, oh, you can actually, you really can afford 750. And you like, and you start calculating the math. You're like, well, just because you're looking at our total, like our finances, and it's saying that we can buy this larger place, but you need to do the calculations in your head, like, okay, hold on,
Yep.
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I need to make sure I'm thinking about property taxes because what they are today, depending on what area that you're in, there's a chance that those are going to go up.
Wow.
Insurance, there's a chance that your insurance could possibly go up. But also, what people don't understand is the phantom cost. There's so many ancillary things that come up with a home. I don't know what it is, but I see it all the time. When people have homes, they get home fever. Like before you know it, every other weekend they get people get super creative. Let me stop. I'm setting a timer to make sure we keep it up to a certain time length. But people get house fever and they just randomly buying stuff for the house and just buying random stuff for the house. Like, oh, I already got a lamp, but I want to go get this other lamp and replace that lamp. And it's
Yeah.
like, how many lamps do you need? Or, the big TV, or hey, I need to renovate, take the carpet out, you know, and you've already purchased the house. Oh, I want to redo the bathroom. Oh, like it's like with a house, it's just never paid for. It's always something to do. And sometimes you just be forcing expenses. Like you get bored or something and you just get to looking around and you just trying to buy something else to add and put it to the house. Like I've especially seen it with people that's retired. My goodness. Like they
Mm.
always out and about. Like especially if you ain't working no more, like you always finding something to buy and put into the house, and before you know it, you just got a whole bunch of stuff in your home. And I don't know, man. I'm seeing it play out. I'm so thankful that we bought something modest, because yes, we've seen the insurance increase. We like, wait a minute, we increased our deductible, to reduce our insurance, and it still went up. And it's like, I guess that's just the time that we in. But in terms of the affordability, back to the initial story of like buying homes, it's a lot of costs that come along with it, but beyond just the monthly payments, you got to think about PMI, private mortgage insurance if you don't put enough down. We actually just we actually just got that removed from ours, because once you get it paid down to a certain amount, you don't need it anymore. And actually, it's the bank that's requiring you to get it if you get a loan. But I'll open it up, let's get your thoughts on it, because obviously I'm coming from a millennial perspective, and then you have your perspective who hadn't purchased a home yet, and you're in a different cost of living area. So, what is your perspective when you hear that it's going to be really tough in the housing market?
It's definitely it's just funny because I think that Gen Z, I'll speak to my generation. I think we're pretty easy to market towards or to get us to think something's
Mm,
attractive. All you gotta do is make a nice TikTok, put some cute music in the background, and show us somebody who's in our age range that's doing it. And I think that's one thing that
mm,
was done for is like home ownership. They romanticize home ownership, like, oh, you just have to, like you say, if you fit the requirements, and there's all these homeowner assistance programs. It's like a milestone that's to be celebrated and raced towards. And it's almost like it's a home run. Like, oh, once I'm in there, I'm almost set. Like I'm straight. I'm good. And so, like you said, these phantom costs. I mean, we hear about the phantom costs if for those of us that care enough to do a little research, but to actually see it play out to where the phantom costs cost more than the mortgage itself. Like, because
mm.
so much, it gets preached to us so much that, okay, as long as you can afford the mortgage, you good. The mortgage, you're already paying that in rent. Why are you renting right now? And
Man,
so,
that's the
like,
worst. I hate hearing that. Like I've I've always had a reaction towards that, even before I, owned the place or whatever. Like when people would say that, I was like, I would always say, but at an apartment, like if something comes up, you could make a quick call, like, hey, y'all need to come fix this. So it's like just it was like your rent, your bill, your utility bills, those little ancillary things. But when it came to fixing things, hey, I need y'all to come by and fix this. You can kind of control. Now what the counter is, hey, but they can raise it up on you. And that's true. And I'm not against home ownership at all. But like when people use that argument, hey, it's hey man, I'm paying what I'm paying with my rent, then I can pay with my mortgage. I might well just get a mortgage. But you're signing up for like 360 mortgage payment. Like for the next 30 years. Like,
mm,
so I don't know if that's the same comparison. At least with renting, you're using it and you're done. Like, no harm, no foul, you're done. But over here, you got this debt now, whether it be 500, 600,000, that ain't going away no time soon. Not a bad thing, but just understand what you're truly getting into, Bird. You can't just make a blanket statement like that. But anyway, I'll cut you off, but I'll let you close us out on this one. This is always that conversation, and people get heated when you talk
mm.
bad against home ownership or one way or the other. I'm somewhere in the middle, but and it's pretty costly to afford these days with these higher interest rates too. Because I look and I'm like, ooh, we have a lower interest rate, even though we'll be finished paying it off by the end of the year. At the end of the year, so we'll probably end up looking to maybe shift to go somewhere else anyway. But we'll be in that scenario. So I'll leave you with this, and I'll let Ken get the final words. Make sure you truly can afford it. Make sure you still have some buffer, some discretionary income, because things do come up.
It's real. And I think that, like I was saying, Gen Z, we're so easy. We get so caught up in, all you got to do is show us a pretty example. Such and such did it. So that means you can do it. We get so caught up in that, and we get caught up in whether we can do it. We don't get caught up in whether we should do it. And like, for instance, like people look at home ownership as like a stepping stone to get into real estate and start real estate investing. They use that as a justification for buying their first home. Like, oh, I'm gonna what do they call it when they have someone living with them? I forgot what they call it, but I'm gonna rent out. I'm gonna stay in one part, rent out the other 2 or 3 units or other unit. And
House
like you
hacking.
said, yeah, they house hack, but like you said, I think you just have to don't a social someone on social media can easily show you what they want to show you, but you don't know all the nightmares that went into. You don't know what they had to restore. They're not going to tell you about the nightmare tenants. Now, some people on social media that are transparent. They're like, man, I just had a tenant tear my house up, and so they'll show you these things. But I'll just say, like Kenny said, do your research. Don't just jump in on your own thinking. Get a team, and if the team is telling you to go ahead, then listen to your team, but don't just go. It's not a decision you want to just be Lone Ranger on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's real. You made me think about something. And if you do house hack, make sure you can afford the mortgage by yourself. Do not get the mortgage needing someone else's income. Make sure you can cover the whole thing by yourself. And then if you happen to house hack, or if you have a vacancy, it's all good. Like you could still cover it. Like that's a key thing because a lot of times people lose their shirts because they're buying things and they hoping everything goes 100% perfect. And I'm here to tell you, you plan for the best, but you expect the best and things are going to work out in your favor always, but you also need to plan for, hey, what if I have some vacancies? Or what if I need to cover this for myself for a period of time? So just be wise about it, not pushing against it, but you know your financial situation. You know if you can afford it or not. And if you're already on the financial red line, regardless on anybody telling you that you can, hey, you approved by this much, if you know you're kind of already on the red line of some challenges that you're having or just because you have an approval letter, you still need to make sure that you can afford it because you don't want to be house poor. Like you in that house, you can't do nothing else, like nothing else, and you can't afford to something going wrong. Like so, at least make sure you got an emergency fund because we want to talk about practical things, right? So at least make sure you have a solid emergency fund in the event something come up because it will. That's not being negative. Things will come up. That's just a part of life, and just you deal with it. It's an inconvenience. You take care of it, and you move on. And so, if you're in that space, hey, do your thing, man. Do your thing. Get your crib, man.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. So let's transition over to now. We were talking about folks that have a home, but we got to talk about the other side, or people considering purchasing a home. But we got to talk about this other side too. We got to talk about the U.S. homelessness
Mm.
hitting an all-time high. Let's talk about it.
A record high this year with over 770,000 people experiencing homelessness. That's up 18% from last year. Our next guest is a California mayor who just wrote a Fox News op-ed titled, "I'm a blue state mayor and the future of homelessness scares me." El Cajon Mayor Bill Wells joins me now. Bill, thanks for getting up with us this morning. You know, you've been a pretty staunch critic of how California handles the homelessness crisis, or I guess how the lack of how they're handling it. So why has it gotten so much worse when they're pumping all of this money into the state to fix the problem?
Well, California has no intention of solving the homeless problem. They created this homeless problem for reasons that are kind of beyond understanding. But what we do know.
So I'm gonna pause it right there. Homelessness is near and dear to me. I go to the parks. I'm trying to think of where it came from. I just always, when I see homeless people, I still do my best, to, like, treat them as people, right? Because they are. You have some people, they like pretend like they don't exist. They'll roll a window up. Like, I'm the one that I would have I keep cash, in my truck, to where, I see, some homeless folks, and, I'll roll my window down, give them some money, or try to help give them some food. And I try not to read too much into, oh, you're choosing to be homeless. You choosing to be homeless. You don't I'm not giving you my hard-earned money. Like, I mean, that's one way to look at it, but I mean, they're people, man. And so, like, even when I go to the park, I connect with people. They just be so shocked that I'm like speaking to them, because they so used to people like kind of speeding up, hurry up, walking away, or going in another direction. And I just saw, like, but what my mind goes sometimes, I'm like, what happened? Like, in my head, I'm thinking, you weren't always this way. Like, what happened in your life that brought you here? Because everybody has a story, right? And so, like, I just always think about the homelessness, and um, it always have me thinking. I even when I first came to Houston, like, I spent a lot of time at the soup kitchen, serving. And what really got me was like seeing, single mothers with their kids, and they just homeless, bro. Like, and so it's like, it's real, man. And the things that we take for granted sometimes, even, complaining, and when you have a job, or you have a roof over your head, it's the things that we as people take for granted. But homelessness is definitely a real thing. Some people, it's self-inflicted wounds. Some people, they may be a victim to their circumstance, and just maybe unfortunate. Maybe you were married, bad situation, and you trying to figure that out. Well, who knows what the story is, but so yeah, U.S. homelessness is hitting a record high. Prices are increasing. Things are continuing to decline. Anything you want to add on that?
Man, it's I don't want to say I'm not surprised, because homelessness is not something I really thought about coming up in Gulfport, Mississippi. I guess more so that it's just part of how the city's built. We don't really walk anywhere, except you to park your car and walking at 2 minutes to the store. But maybe there's homeless people along the highway, but there's mostly out of sight, out of mind back home. It kind of
Yeah.
hit me very face to face once I got to Philadelphia. That was my first encounters face to face on the street with homeless people, seeing them. Not just, walking up to the cars and panhandling, but just existing, just there. This is their space almost. And so it was very striking to me. And it just definitely causes you to pause and wonder, like, how are we all just walking past these people? And how did the people get here? And what are their stories? And what happened? And so,
Yeah.
like I said, I remember like I said, one instance. I think I bought him I forgot what I bought, pizza or something like that. But I just remember, like, that story touched me. And it's like, cool, you buy him pizza one day, then you see him there again the next day. And it's like, man, this got to be a better solution to this. It's got to be something that can be done. It really makes you think, like, it makes you happy to do even a little drop in the bucket of happiness and kindness. But, I don't know about red states, blue states. I can't really speak to, I don't know what's going on in red states. No, Pennsylvania was red, but Philly was extremely blue. And I'm in Boston now. It's extremely blue. Massachusetts is blue, and Boston has homelessness as well. I don't know if I can compare it to Philadelphia. Because Philadelphia, a lot of that homelessness was definitely tied to drugs. This is just a really bad drug problem going on in Philly. It's a really bad problem going on in all of America, but Philly specifically. But like I said, I just really want to figure out how can we contribute to solutions for these people.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think the last time, yeah. So I was at, cause like I'll look down sometimes, like I'll look at their shoes and like that, like it was one guy, his name was Sean. He, the park that I go to right around the corner from me. Like I was looking at his shoes and like he didn't have like no soles on the shoe. Like he's still putting them on, but like the sole of the shoes is gone. I'm like, yo, that's man, this is wild. So I and the way I operate, you know how like some people, just because a person is homeless, you should not be giving them leftover stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like stuff that you won't even like stuff that you don't even stuff that you don't
That's
even
not funny, but I know what you
like
mean.
stuff you don't even value anymore. You like, they homeless. I just like
Right.
I'm like,
Trash.
yeah, I'm like, nah, like. And so I told Sean, I was like, hey man, look, I was like, hey, I got something for you. And so like I told my wife something I wanted to do. I wanted to get Sean some new shoes, but I wanted to get him some shoes that I would wear. Like, cause you got to think a lot of times they're like walking everywhere. Like now it had missed me that sure they do have access to certain type of benefits, but I ain't want to get into all that. This is something I want to do because every time I see him he have on these shoes, and I'll be like, man, this ain't good for your feet, especially walking around. So I got him some shoes that I would wear, that I wear for walking, like because comfort, feet, preserving your feet, and so and also he's like, them look comfortable. So like, just talking with him like that, and so I got him some new shoes, and so like ever since then, we I ain't gonna say we were cool, but like just speaking. But the one thing that um they, people appreciate that, and even for those that don't, it is what it is. I'm not like looking for anything, but like if you just feel led to do something for people, like you don't have to be Christmas for you to do that or the giving spirit. You know how it is around Christmas time, but then the other 11 months you how you moving how you moving,
Right.
and maybe homelessness is not your thing, but like lean into something that's bigger than yourself. It has nothing to do with you, that you can contribute to, whether it be with your time, your energy, um, your time, your money, or what have you. But yeah, man, homelessness is at a record high. I don't know how to solve it. I have no idea. I don't think the government knows. Like, I don't think anyone really knows. But I've seen women out there, and I'm like, man, that's really sad when you see women. I'm like, how is this happening? Like, I just don't know what to do. Like, I see women that are like your grandmother's age, and you're like, and it's like, and they're waiting for the bathrooms to be open so they can clean themselves up, and like it's just a lot, man. It's a lot. It's something I think about. But I'm only one person. I can't change the world, but I can like contribute to some one person or two or a cause, but yeah, man, just yeah.
It's crazy too because it's like a tag. It's like it's like it seems like once you're homeless, I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, I don't know any statistics. I don't know anything at all. But it seems like if unless you're able to escape it immediately, really quickly, it seems like it's like quicksand. Like it's gonna hold you. I don't know how you get out of it because you got to put down your address on job applications. You can't just put down the gym. You can't just put down. They're gonna think you're trying to fraud. And so
Right.
it's like the system. I ain't gonna get into the system, but it's just as an individual level, I can see how it'd be really hard to escape that situation. And just now you're permanently tagged as an other. You're not a human no more. So now you're not even worthy of help no more. It's I don't know.
Mm, mm. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So we gotta keep pushing forward. And you mentioned something like quicksand. You got me thinking as we get ready to wrap this segment, but you got me thinking because there are some people that I talk to that are homeless, and but not just homeless people. Let me not say it. But when I talk to them, they're like, you know how when you in this cycle and that's your world and that's all, like you're in this world day in and day out. And I it's one homeless guy, we have the same circular conversation every time. It's
Mm.
like, hey man, what's going on? Good morning, brother. How you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey man, I need to figure out what I'm gonna do with my job. And so then like me being me, like at the beginning, I start like, oh, well, you could like, well, man, you got to think about what's important to the marketplace and, you know, how you can make some money, whether it be a skill trade. Oh, yeah, 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 you're right. Yeah, you know what? There's a skill that I have. But it's like, I started to realize like, he just wanted to like talk about his situation, but I can tell he wasn't ready to do anything about it. And like, cause we literally every time, then he started telling me about like, oh man, they tripping and I still need to get up out of there. I'm like, man, I'm doing this day work and this is not enough. And I'm like, well, you don't have to stay there. Like, you could start working on a plan to do something else to transition. Obviously we gotta be where you are right now, but like you can have a better life and it don't have to be like going to school. Like you can get a trade. He told me he had a trade, but he just let it go or something. And it was something that he needed to do to reactivate it. But like every time we talked, he kept like he was in this cycle of like being stuck, like just stuck. And just talking about being stuck is moving it away from just being homeless, but like a lot of times we get stuck. And this is where you was talking about having community where someone is like somebody can point out like, hey Ken, hey Ken, hey man, you having this same conversation a lot now. Like this is a safe space. This is a space where we encourage each other. But you've had this conversation about 7 times now. And we know that you're solution oriented, but it seems like you're stuck in this cycle of this one thing. It's time for you to go get some help. Like it's time for you to move past this stage now because you were venting, had to get it off your chest, but now this venting is starting to turn into complaining, and now I'm starting to get into this space where I almost don't want to answer the phone now when you call because the energy that I'm feeling after we talk. When we used to talk, after we finished, I was hyped up, I was inspired, you was inspired, and then we went on by our day. But now it's starting to be kind of an energy drain every time we talk now. And so um the takeaway from that is when you stuck, sometimes you don't realize you're stuck. And I think when you said quicksand, I think that just made me go there of like sometimes we don't know we're in the quicksand, and sometimes if you're in a community, the community could see that, okay, you in quicksand, and that might be the season you in, but you can't be there forever. Like we gotta
Right.
find a way to help pull you out of the like if one person grabbing one arm, another person grabbing another
Right.
arm, we gotta get you up out of there because you sinking, and you're gonna lose yourself. But yeah, man. To wrap that segment, get help where you can. Easier said than done, but try to avoid the quicksand if you can.
For sure.
Speaking of, transitioning to the last segment of the day, job shaming. Job shaming. Now, I will admit, there was a time that, you read these entrepreneur books and they saying you in the rat race, rat race,
You on the wheel. Yeah.
you're on a hamster wheel. And if you're
You
not
ain't bashing
careful,
them.
Yeah, 9 to 5, slavery.
You got a boss.
You got a boss. You working for another man.
That's
You working for the man. And what opened my like, and there was some shame. Like, dang man, I'm working a regular job, man. There's other things I want to do but I didn't realize like. But when you start looking at the statistics, a lot of things that you're seeing on social media is not what they seem. Don't get it twisted. There are some people, they are a serial entrepreneur and they're doing their thing. And so it's not pushing against entrepreneurship, but like job shaming, I don't know where that came from. I don't know how I allowed myself to get pulled into it. But that job shaming, bro, it can lead you down a path where you're not leaning into your job and performing to the best of your ability because you're there and you're going every day, but you're also trying to figure out how you can exit. Like, and so you got 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and you're not even pushing as hard as you can where your feet are today. Like, so because it's one thing to be pushing with your 9 to 5, as they say, and then going hard, showing up well there, but then in your 5 to 9, as they say, 5 p.m. to after work, like going hard there. Like if it's something else that you want to do, you can do both until your side hustle or whatever surpasses your income from your job, then maybe you can make that transition. But I'm learning, hey, why not do both? Run the bag up, run it up, run it up until just you just like, you know what? I've amassed this wealth. I think I want to retire from corporate. And then you go and do this other thing. But a lot of times, and you can make this mistake of jumping out of corporate so fast. And then you start talking about being in entrepreneurship and then you end up owning a job. All right. So let's get into this segment. But I wanted to share that before I queued it up because I don't know what's going on in this culture about job shaming. I don't know what it is. I've in the past I've allowed myself to get wrapped up in it, so I'm not immune to it. But it's this actor. Even being an actor, he had a regular job when he wasn't acting. Um, from the Cosby Show. I'm gonna cue it up, let you hear it. The guy's name is Jeffrey Owens, and he was working at Trader Joe's, and people found out that he was working at Trader Joe's, and he was a former actor. Well, he's still an actor. He was an actor on the famous Cosby Show, and so when
right.
people saw him in there in Trader Joe's a couple years ago, they was job shaming him.
That's corny. I don't like that.
And so this is an interview not too long ago from that time, but now up to this point, in present day, it was a few years ago he was getting job shamed, but then I'm just giving you a backstory on the interview that we're about to talk through. But job shaming, but now he's talking about how he's still struggling today.
I still struggle to make a living. Oh. I struggle every day to make my ends meet.
Former Cosby Show star Jeffrey Owens is still struggling to make ends meet. The actor sits down for a recent interview with V103 Atlanta's Big Tigger morning show, where he reacts to being job shamed after a viral post in 2018 that showed him working behind the register at grocery store chain Trader Joe's. In the new chat, the 63-year-old, who became well known for his character of Elvin on The Cosby Show in the 80s and 90s, defends his side hustle and shares what it was like to be job shamed by the internet.
Someone came in and took pictures of me, and I was like, well, now that this is breaking, I'm not going to feel comfortable working in this store wondering if this customer, wondering who's around with a camera, it's going to be just too weird.
Got you.
I'm a very private person, I don't want to be doing my job thinking that every other person might be having a.
So they was job shaming my man at the time. But when you hear that, I'm going to kick it over to you, Ken. What are your thoughts?
It's It's funny that they ran up on him in Trader Joe's with a camera, but I hate that they did that to him. Like, because no, like people act like they're above certain jobs, and just to hear him admit that he's still struggling to make ends meet like regular people. He's figuring it out as he goes. And so it as I heard him share that story, it just made me think like, I mean, I'm 20, I'm 23 now, about to be 24. And I don't know, as we're young, we just think like, okay, one day we'll figure it out. It'll all fall into place. But I mean, he's gotten up there in age and he's still figuring it out. Like there's not just gonna be a God isn't just gonna fly in on your 30th birthday and say, okay, son, here's the plan you've been waiting on. Now go run it. No, you have to be working on it in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. There's not a button that you can press and be like, okay, God, I don't reach that age to where you can. It's magic now, right? This is the magic age where I gained my wisdom, I got my grades, and now everything's just lollipops from now on. Like, no, you have to, and especially as a celebrity or someone who runs into a lot of money at an early age. I heard Shannon say this earlier today. It's not about how much money, he keeps saying this. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you keep. And so I think there is definitely I think you mentioned it a couple weeks ago. For celebrities, there's being dead and then there's being broke. And so I could understand him not wanting that picture out. Like, cause I'm just that's a safety violation. Who knows? What if there's some lunatic out there who hated his character? Now they come to Trader Joe's with a weapon. I don't like that they expose him like that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Job shaming. Job shaming. I've gotten to the place where, hey, I don't care what you say. If somebody watches this video and they like, man, they got regular jobs. They suckers. They slaves. Hey, hey, I'm good to being on the plantation, boss. Hey, I got great benefit. I make six figures. I got great benefits, and we are living a wonderful life. And it has funded other ventures that I'm a part of as well. So I likes my 9 to 5, boss.
I hate that they paint it like that because it's not slavery. And here's my thing. Like when you mentioned going to your current job and hating on it, trying to figure out your next job. I don't like that. You're robbing yourself, you're robbing your manager, you're robbing your peers. I mean, put it in football terms. Put it on in football terms. That's like I go to the Jets, but I really want to be on the Chiefs. So I'm running the routes with half the heart. I'm not really giving all effort. Your teammates will see that. The coach will see that. And you'll mess around and they'll trade you to the Browns or something. You're not going to the Chiefs now. And so put that back into real life.
Yeah.
I'll say part of what can fuel that frustration is that you haven't really done the work to figure out what you want to do in your 5 to 9. That's why you're at your 9 to 5 still mentally trying to figure out and piece that puzzle together, and you're frustrated and it's distracting you from your 9 to 5. But once you get to the point to where you're like, okay, I know what I want to do outside of my job and I'm committed to it, that gives you the freedom to say, okay, my 9 to 5 is just my 9 to 5. So when I'm at my 9 to 5, I'm giving it everything I got. But as soon as it's 5:01, I'm in the car driving, excited, thinking about my 5 to 9. So you got to be able to have balance like that. But if you don't know what your 5 to 9 is, you're going to be at your 9 to 5 frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you a couple things that I'm coming off the cuff here, but a couple things that changed my perspective. So I hired a coach. I hired a coach and he had a business. He was making six figures in his business. 6 figures a month. He said something to me that was life changing. He said, "Man, I wish I would have got that information before I had did something different, like many years before I met him." He said, "Man, don't you ever quit your job before you have something else going on and like leaving into a hope, like moving to a hope. Like I hope this work out. Like if it's not proven and it's not like generating income or you hadn't raised money, like if you're not in those type of scenarios, he said you better keep your job. He said you better keep your job until you, and he wasn't like giving me, he was just like talking in general and he was just sharing his perspective. And he was like, it's foolish when people do that. He said, because now you're gonna be so stressed out about your living, and that account just gonna be going down, 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 and you're gonna get more and more stressed, and it's gonna be, and you're not gonna have any creativity to be even do the thing that you said you wanted to do. And also, it just takes time sometimes to
And
build a
money.
bit and money to build something on the side. And he said sometimes, and even sometimes then it doesn't work. He said,
Yep.
and he said, man, if I can find a CEO job where I'm getting paid a half a mil and I can still do something on the side, like, and I can still do my thing on the side. He said, I would strongly consider it. And so he was giving me his perspective. He was like, he said, yeah, when you hear people talking, oh, I'm making six figures a month with my business. He said, what they ain't telling you is they telling you what the gross is. They're not telling you what the net is. He said, but what they not telling you is my overhead is 80,000 a month
Yep.
and I'm making 20 and I'm taking home 20. My payroll, all of that is factoring up to about 80 and I'm taking home 20. He said, to be honest, if depending on, if you start getting into some of those leadership roles, find a job where you're making $20,000 a month. And so when you start doing the math and you like, oh, you're not much better off than I am. Like, and it's just perspective. But then the other thing that changed my life was I didn't realize you can make so much money in corporate if you get in the right disciplines. If you get in the right places where companies find valuable. Now, don't get it twisted. We talking about job shaming, but at the end of the day, this is the KB Money Show, and you gotta anchor in your number one source of income first. And yes, you want to eventually diversify into other streams and not be solely tied to a job and certain decisions that they may make. You may lose that stream of income, but you got to lean in and you got to work with what you got. Like, you can't be sitting up here job shaming in one motion and then you don't got nothing else going outside of work. And it's like what we doing? Like, and when you look at the statistics, when I started looking at the statistics of like what's really going on out here in the world, it really gives you even more confidence of like, hey man, I'm just gonna double down and doing what I'm doing, because if you're looking in your surrounding, it's like everybody balling. But what you start to realize, what do we cover today? Massive amounts of credit card debt. That's just not low income earners either. That's
Who
people
getting
that,
approved for all that credit?
right. Yes, it's low income earners too, but then when you're looking at statistics of six people that make six figures still live check to check. When you remember the Jim Carrey episode,
Mhm.
that's millions of dollars. All the actors, they making millions of dollars check to check. And so you start to realize, like, and then you start to look at the statistics of most of the businesses fail. And it's not that you're looking for statistics to say, okay, see, that's why I got a job, and you don't do anything entrepreneurial. But hey, run your race, figure out what's what what's for you, and just keep working your plan. And if entrepreneurship is part of your plan, cool. But man, don't let nobody shame you on not of having a job, man. Don't get in there, especially if you have a good paying job. Like, don't do that to yourself. Like, we living in this culture of not working. We got to do the work anyway. Because sometimes when you go out on your own, even if when you self-employed, guess what? You own a job now. It's you, and now you have to do all the things that when like you took for granted on your job, of like you just flip your laptop open and you just start working. But now you got to provide the laptop, the software, the environment, the office space, all the things,
Yeah.
the marketing, the sales, the
You IT
payroll,
now.
you IT now. Like, you need to pay for your health, your dental, like.
Oh yeah.
And so when you start adding it all up, all this conversation sounds good, but understand, like, you can only be where you are. And hey, you working a job, making a good living for you. So I don't know how we've shamed just doing decent. I don't know, like everybody's gonna be lifestyle famous and the rich. Like you can build wealth over time. Like you can build good money. Like you can build a good living for yourself over time with a job. You just got to start early. It just takes time. And if you want more, do more, be more. The skills that you're learning on your job, like, okay, I'm learning these world-class skills. How can I start to strategically leverage some of those skills outside of work, whether it be coaching, whether it be, I just want to start this other thing. And you just start cultivating and getting help, as you mentioned, to like start learning how to be a business person, because working a job and being a business owner is two different mindsets. And so you clocking in and just leaving at 5, that's not the mindset of you doing something that you own. You have to be thinking about that thing all the time. There is no PTO. There is none of that. And so like there's a lot that come along with that. I think that it's a beautiful thing for those that have built something and it's inspirational and that's the direction that you want to go. Do that thing. But like the job shaming, we done with that. We not job shaming no more. It's cool. It's fine to have a job. You making 6 figures on your job. Keep making your bread. Manage that money. Stack that money. Invest in yourself and keep moving forward, because you can become a millionaire. I've joined some sites. I've joined some money talk conversations with all people in there work a job, and because of the career field that they were in, they're multimillionaires, bro. I didn't even know that that was possible. I'm like, what? Being a multimillionaire, and it's because they invested early. Their careers that they went down, they was making really good money. They was getting stock, they was getting RSUs, they was getting equity, they was getting bonuses, and they was taking that money, investing it, and they investing it. Then they ended up getting real estate. Then they was, like, and so like then they built the real estate portfolio, but they launched off of their job, and then they started doing other things, and getting into other things. And so like it's multiple ways to skin the cat. It's multiple ways to get there. But don't let nobody job shame you, bro.
Right.
Yep. Well, thank you for tuning in to the KB Money Show Season 2. We got much more content coming. Hope you guys are loving it, enjoying it. We having fun while we're doing it. If you guys have any feedback that you'd like to share with us, drop something in the comments. You are our audience. We do this for y'all. We keeping y'all entertained, but going over serious topics and fun topics too. But until the next episode, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace. We out, y'all.